Hello, I want to say welcome to this Adalo tutorial. It's so good to have you here. Today, I want to show you how to use the Google Place API. Using the Google Place API, it's a very cool thing in your application, especially if you're looking for the showing various data points. For example, if you're working on a tourist app or you're working on an app that requires you to show different data points or to query Google Map, right? You definitely want to use the Google API. So if you do not have an Adalo account, it's very important that you get one, right? Get an Adalo account, but you need to have access to external collections, right? Adalo offers a 14-day trial, so you get access to the external collection, and you need to be able to use custom functions, right? Custom function or custom code or custom actions, they are the same thing, right? So let's dive deep and learn how to use Google Place API in Adalo. Meanwhile, if this is your first time of tuning into my channel, feel free to like it. Feel free to like, subscribe, so you can always get notified when I launch a new video. So let's get started with the tutorial. Okay, so first thing first, like I said, you need to open an Adalo account. And next, we would go to the Places API. You say this is the Places API documentation. Documentations are very important whenever you are trying to, create external collections in Adalo. Right. If you log into your mobile application in Adalo, you would see that you have access to the external collection depending on your plan, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Go to your database and you would see external collection. Here I am storing my search results, right, as an external collection called search result. Because the way Google Place API works is that you send a query and then it retrieves it. The Google Place API has different data points that you can use. So you can search a long route, you can search places, you can search details, you can search photos, you can even use autocomplete if you want to. But what we're very interested in is the search, right? And we want to use the test search, because even the search have different points that you can use. You can search for place, you can search for nearby areas, and also you can do test search. So we want to use the test search, and we're just going to use the web service because we're making a call. That's what we're doing. So we're not trying to write JavaScript, we're just trying to use a call on this one, right? So you would see that what we need is we need this particular API, this particular URL, right? This one, and we want to get our result via JSON. And it requires two parameters. One of them is the query and the radius. Though the radius is pretty optional, but if you're not going to add the query to it, it means that Google API is going to pull all the result from anywhere you want it to be. But if you add the radius to it, Google API is going to pull the result from a particular search area. Right? So let's go down. There are other ones that you can add. You can add price, because that means if you're going to be searching for things like a store, you're searching for like houses to rent near me, things like that. Because Google API, Google Map or Google Places API has a very rich data point that you can always use. So this is the final URL that you want to copy. This right here, you want to copy it, and then you can see we have the query, and then we have the key. So we have the query, we have the API key. So first thing, you also need to get your API key. How do you do that? I'm pretty sure it's going to be straightforward. You go to your Google Cloud Console and you get your API key. So let's go to Google Cloud Console. Click right there. And then you would pick a particular project. So you might have different projects. You click on a particular project. Meanwhile, for you to have access to this key, you need to be on the Blaze plan. So it's very important that you be on the Blaze plan, and definitely you're not going to be charged. You're not going to be charged anything because likely you might not be pulling a whole lot of data to be charged, right? I think you need 10,000 requests per hour. So in order for you to be charged, you need to support that request per hour. So we would we'll click on the left hand side and we'll click API and services. We'll say enable API and services. And now we're going to search for the API that we want to enable. So we want to enable the Google Place. Let's say Google Place. So let's add a service. So we're going to say Google Place. And this is the one we want. We want this Google Place API. And we're going to enable it. So we're going to enable it. So here it says you're going to have access to over 200 million places. That's a whole lot of places in the world. So yeah, Google Place API has been enabled. But let's go back. Let's go back again. So if you want to use the Map API, you can also enable the Google Map API, because with Adalo has a very good map functionality. So if you want to enable that, you would have to click on the Map JavaScript API. You have to enable all of that. For Android, for iOS, geocoding API, you need to enable all of that in order for you to use the Map API. So now that you've enabled that, we'll click right here and we'll click on Credentials. We'll click API Services and we'll click on Credentials. And then we have all of this. All these are keys that have been auto-created, but we'll click on Add Credentials. We'll say API Keys. So it's going to create an API key for you. And then you make sure that you keep this API keys and you keep it very secure. You see, this is the API key, and we'll copy it and we'll close. And here it has no restriction at all. So what this means is that it means that your API key can access all of Google services because there is no restriction. So if there are some services you want your API key not to be able to access, you want to click restrictions, and then you select all the places, all the services you don't want your API key to access, right? So once you're done with that, you come back to Adalo. You come back to your Adalo application. You click on your external database. So meanwhile, if you want it, you also need to add your search, right? So this is my search page, and this is the page I'm using for my search. This right here, I'm using this page for my search right here, this. And this is where the user is going to put things like hotels near me, houses near me, cars near me. And this is what's going to happen. There's going to be an update function here. So let me show you how this works. So go back to your database, click on your user and click on add property. And you're going to add a test, and then you're going to add search term or search query right here. So this is very important because you need the data to be held somewhere. You need that search term to be held somewhere. And then we'll click on save, right? And then we'll come back here, go to our external collection add. So we'll say search Google Place, right? And then we need to add our base URL and our API key. So remember, our search query is going to have two queries. It's going to take two parameters. So we'll click on add, say query parameter. First one is the key, and that's going to be the API key that we copied. And the next one is the query. Right? The next one is the query. And the query, it's going to be coming from our logged in user database. So we'll go to our logged in user, and this is going to be the search query. So let's add hotels near me. Right, so that's just for testing purposes only. So the reason why we're fetching this from the user database is because Adalo needs to store it somewhere first, right? It's a multi-step query. That's what it's doing. It's a multi-step query. So we click on done, and then we have to go fetch the base URL. So the base URL will fetch it from right here. Copy this. This is the base URL right here. Come back to Adalo, and we'll put it here, right? And then we can go next, and we can go next, and we can test. So it says this API project is not authorized to use this API. Terrible. So it means that your API needs a lot of authorization in order for you to be able to use this project. So it means that your API has to be tied to this project. So I'm going to get another API that has been, that I can use for this particular project. So I've listed the other API key. Don't want it to be visible to you. So now it says an error occurred when calling the API, but you still see all the results, right? The reason why we're seeing this error is because we need a key. And the key that we need is this results. That's what we need. So we'll go back to our endpoint. We'll click on get all because we want to fetch all the results. And we'll paste on. So we paste result there. So remember, we went to get all because we're doing a get request. And now we're saying we're pasting the result right here. Don't worry. Leave create one. You don't have to touch any other thing. We say done. We'll go to next, run our test, and here we go. Successful, right? Successful, and we say save collection. Now we have another external collection called search Google Places, right? That's cool. And then this is what we'll do. We're going to click on this search, right? And the first thing we want to do is that we want to give this a name. So the name of this feed is search term. So we click on this. This is where we're going to add an action to. And the first action we're going to add is to update the logged in user with the search term, right? With the search term. So we're going to update this search query. This one we just created for this particular tutorial. So we're going to say it's going to be auto component and it's going to be the search term. It's same thing. I'm just updating it for the sake of this tutorial. And we'll say done. And then we would create a new search result, right? We're just going to create a new search result. That's what we're doing, nothing else. The reason why we're creating this search result is so that that external API query that we did to the Google Place runs. And once it runs, we'll come here and we'll be able to say, what collection is this? This is a collection. What collection is this? We'll say search result, and then we'll be able to tie the collection. But there's something that you would observe if you decide to run this. When you decide to run this, you will see that all the actions, it's showing same results. So let me do that. I'm going to run the application. So when I go to the search and I say houses in Dubai, you will see that it's showing the same result over and over again. Why? Because we're missing the key. The key is now at the top of the search. So let's go back and add the key to it. We'll come back to our collection, and then we will choose this place ID and put it in front because that's the key, right? And then we come back here, we do we'll search again, and we will see that we'll see all the different types of result, right? So that's the way you would use the Google Place API in Adalo. I hope you found this tutorial very useful and you use it in your project. If you did, if you're going to be using it in your project, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know how you're using the Google Place API. And also, if you're looking forward to building your app in Adalo, I'm free. Feel free to reach out to me and I'll definitely help you. I'm open for consultation and I'm open for gigs, helping you launch your product into the market. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. My name is Paul O'Cole. I'll see you in a different tutorial entirely. Meanwhile, there's a bonus if you join my community using the link below. Thank you very much.